Hi, and welcome to another Smoothie Talk. Today, I'm so lucky and privileged to have beautiful and talented Thana Alexa, straight from New York. Welcome, Thana. And here I am. I started in English.
I know.
Right?
I was so surprised.
Yeah, it was, I guess I programmed myself earlier to do it in English, but we can switch to Croatian. Pa idemo još
We
jednom.
can
Znači,
do
dobro
anything.
večer i dobrodošli u još jedan Smoothie Talk. Večeras sam jako sretna što na liniji direktno iz Njujorka imam krasnu Thanu Aleksu. Dobrodošla, Thana.
Hvala, Lela. Toliko mi je drago biti s tobom i eto, dobro večer svima i nadam se da ćete uživati.
Evo, mi smo se bili nešto dogovarali na kojem jeziku ćemo voditi intervju. Uglavnom, zadnji je dogovor bio na hrvatskom, pa sam ja krenula evo na engleskom. Ali ako se u jednom momentu samo presvićemo na engleski, nemojte nam zamjeriti, guštajte kao što ćemo, nadam se, i mi. Evo, ja volim na početku samog razgovora pitati moje goste tko je to, tko su to oni, kako sebe oni vide iznutra. Ko je Thana Aleksa? Malo ovako je, možda malo šokantno pitanje i malo dublje i malo zadire u nekakvu intimu, ali evo, ja volim tako povesti ovaj razgovor. Pa, who is Thana Aleksa?
Who is Thana? Pa, ja... Dobro, ovo ću na engleskom.
Može.
Thana is an artist, first and foremost, and a very, I find myself to be a very connected person with who I am inside. It took me many years to be comfortable with who I am. Mm-hmm. And I think this, being a singer has a lot to do with finding out the depths of who you are, because this instrument that we have is the only instrument in the world that you can't see. It's the only invisible instrument. So I have to rely so much on what I feel, how I visualize myself inside, and how I can bring who I truly am from the inside of my heart and my soul and my body through my instrument. So I've done a lot of work just trying to get to know myself and knowing what I like and what I don't like. I'm a very emotional person. I'm a very friendly person. I'm very outgoing, but I'm also very private. And I think that through art and through singing, I've been able to access parts of my expression that maybe I wouldn't have been able to otherwise. So in general, I think that I'm an emotional riba, I'm an emotional fish, and I'm an artist through and through, and just love to be with people and love to be with artists and love to be inspired by people's stories and to find out the truth of everybody.
Mm. That's so beautiful. I think I've been waiting for an answer as like you just explained it throughout all these interviews that I've done so far. So thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that you heard that question in such a way that answer just came through. So thank you so much for sharing that. I would like to also ask, what does creativity mean to you? Creation. How do you approach it? How does it come to you? Is it natural? Do you feel free? Or do you actually are more regimented and say, okay, each day I'm going to spend some time in thinking about creating a song or whatever you are up to?
I think creativity is obviously a very subjective thing. And my relationship with creativity has changed quite a bit since the pandemic. Mm-hmm. My relationship with music in general has changed since the pandemic because I've had to reevaluate my relationship with these two things, my creativity and my music. I think that creativity, coming from the perspective of a jazz musician, It can be very spontaneous. It can be very unexpected. And sometimes, I mean, I am the kind of person that likes to find the freedom within a structure, because I get easily very overwhelmed. So if I sit down at the keyboard and I'm trying to write something and I have all of the possibilities in the world, I will get too overwhelmed, and I kind of retract into myself, and I find it hard to create something. But if I give myself a task, or if I give myself some kind of a regimented idea with which I have to use to create something, then I will find my way through the cracks and the holes of this regimented idea, and find the freedom. The pandemic has been a very interesting time for me creatively, because it's been one of the driest creative periods of my life. It's been very difficult for me to create anything since the start of the pandemic, other than things that I've been hired to create for other people. So I've done a lot of recordings, a lot of composing, a lot of work for hire.
Mm-hmm.
But to write something new that comes from the depths of my soul that I am trying to say, I think it's partially, it's been difficult for me because I haven't yet fully processed all of the things that we've gone through since the beginning of the pandemic. And even though we're now starting to activate again and do concerts, and there's been such a long period of waiting, but waiting with uncertainty and with real pain, because of not being able to do what we do on a daily basis. It's been difficult. And so I think there's a part of this process that I'm still trying to grieve what happened, and then once this is finished,
Mm-hmm.
I will be able to express the feelings that I have about it.
Mm-hmm.
And creativity in general, I've used my creativity in many different ways throughout the pandemic. I've realized that creativity for me is not just about creating a new piece of music. I can use my creative brain in many different ways. And for example, in the pandemic, I started an organization called Live from Our Living Rooms. Two friends of mine and we started this to support artists. So in the time when I couldn't create something of myself, I was trying to use my creative brain to support the artists who had something to say in this moment. And so it was just kind of a rearranging of my brain. My writing process in general is very it can be very different from song to song, from moment to moment, and periods of my life. um, I find it difficult to write something when I don't have a clear idea,
Mm-hmm.
especially because I'm writing lyrics. If I'm also, because I'm a one-woman show, I'm my own manager. I'm, until very recently, my own booking agent. I'm my own publicist and my own this and that. When you're an independent artist, you have to be all of these things. So the
Yeah.
writing process, I'm always thinking about the narrative and the story, and how will people connect with this. But sometimes I also get ahead of myself, and I forget that I need to just write and let things out, and then the story will present itself to me.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what happened with my album that I released in 2020, Ona.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote 2, 3, 4 songs before I realized that Ona was telling me something.
Mm.
And then I figured out what the story was through the music that I had been writing, and I saw the theme. So I didn't go into it with the idea that this was the theme. So
Awesome.
I don't know if that answers
Great.
the
You explained it
question.
so beautifully, actually, all the sides of your creativity. It's amazing. It's really awesome. We'll come back to your album and everything it brought to you. But before that, I would like to also ask, besides you creating this beautiful online festival that I followed somewhat, as much as I could, how did you feel throughout the pandemics, besides being there for others? Like, what do you think was the best thing that you got out of it?
The best thing,
Mm-hmm.
I think, there were a couple of best things.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, my mother was visiting from Dubrovnik. She had actually purchased a small apartment in New York, very close to where my husband and I are living,
Mm-hmm.
in Queens, in 2019. And she arrived in February of 2020 to
Wow.
stay
Just
for a
to
longer
visit.
time, just to visit. She was coming for a few months. And we were excited because it was the first time that she had her space. We had our space. We would be together, but she also has a full life in New York with friends and a history, because she was born in New York, even though she's from Croatia by her parents. And and when the lockdown hit, she couldn't go back to Croatia. So
Right.
she was here for 6 months. And I had not spent that much time with my mother since I was in high school in Zagreb.
Wow.
So it was a beautiful time. I mean, I have, as difficult as the lockdown was creatively as a musician, and as a creator, it was a beautiful time that I was able to experience this new relationship with my mom. This was a beautiful thing. And then also the relationship that developed between my mom and my husband, because we spent so much time together. And thinking back on the lockdown, as difficult as it was, I also have very fond memories of it, because she was here. And your parents can ground you in a
Specific way.
very special and specific way. Yeah. So that was one. Also, being at home was nice, sleeping in the same bed for
Yeah.
many nights, because the years before, I was on the road much of the year. So it was constant touring, constant jet lag, constant exhaustion. Um, Also very happy to have been doing what I love, but jazz touring is not very glamorous, let's say. So it was nice to be home. I think in the 12 years that my husband and I have been together, we had never been home that long with each other.
Together.
And it
Yeah.
was also very nice to be together, just having this time to also pour our creativity into cooking food. For example, we did so much cooking. We did so much laughing, so much playing of games. I mean, we had this different thing that we discovered within our little family. That was nice. It was also nice to be home together and understand in each other
Mm-hmm.
what we were going through as two musicians who could not do what we do.
Mm.
Um, there was an added layer of understanding and connection between my husband and I that grew.
That's so beautiful. And before we go any further, just have to tell for all those listeners and all of our beautiful audience that Thana is married to one of the greatest drummers in the world, Mr. Sanchez, Antonio Sanchez.
Yes.
So how
Hrvatski zet.
Hrvatski zet, yeah. So I know you probably get this question a lot, but how is it being married to like a real jazz star? How is
I
it
mean,
now?
it's
I
it's
mean, it's changing and morphing all the time, for
mhm.
sure. But how was it before, and how is it now?
I mean, we've been together for a very long time. We met in 2008
Hmm.
because Antonio played in Carnegie Hall with Oliver Dragojevic,
Yeah.
and this was a big show. And I was, of course, at the show with my mother. And my mother, who has a nonprofit organization in New York, she helped organize the after party of the Oliver concert. This was her contribution. So we got these beautiful seats in Carnegie Hall to this concert. And I was a jazz student at the time. And I went to the concert just like everybody else, and I opened this playbill, and then I see the list of Croatian musicians, a lot of which I recognized, and then I see Antonio Sanchez and Jason Linder, and I said, what are they doing here? And I had never met him, but I knew of him, and I knew that he worked with Pat Metheny, and so I was just intrigued that this very seasoned jazz musician was playing, these beautiful Croatian songs that I love and was singing along to.
Mhm.
And so back then we didn't get to meet the day of the show, but I put his name in Google, and the first thing that came up was his MySpace page.
Oh yeah, that was the day of
So now
MySpace.
I'm dating us, where we met the old fashioned way on MySpace. And I sent him a message, and I said that I was so happy to see a musician of his caliber playing with Croatian musicians, and that I loved the concert. And he took this fantastic solo at the end of the show that was just, blew everybody away. And I just asked him if he wanted to meet me for coffee, and I asked him if he could just talk to me about music and how this little boy from Mexico came to New York and made the career that he did. And really, I was interested in picking his brain and seeing, what was his life about.
Hmm.
And really, that there was no ulterior motive. It was just I was interested in finding out, how did he do what he did.
Hmm.
And he agreed, and we met for a coffee, and we ended up talking for many hours, and then this launched us into a very nice friendship, which happened over the course of about 9 months. And through this 9 months, we became very good friends, and every time we met, it was hours of talking and just musical talk, intellectual talk. It was very fluid and very organic every time we got together. And then after the 9 months, it turned into something else.
Beautiful.
And yeah, so this was now almost 13 years ago.
Mm.
And so obviously, when I met him, I was much younger than I am now, and I was still, I was almost at the end of school, and there is quite an age difference between us. So he also had quite a developed career while I was just starting. So in the beginning, what was difficult for me was first, trying to establish myself as an independent artist in New York, and not wanting to be labeled as the girlfriend of, or later the wife of.
Right.
Um, and this was something that, obviously in the beginning, I had no track record as a musician. I wasn't doing very many gigs. I had no recordings. I had no musical history in my career. And so the natural thing for people was to say, oh, this is Antonio's girlfriend, or this is Antonio's wife later. But then as I started to develop my career and really find my voice as a musician,
Mhm.
I was looking to change that and have people recognize me for me,
Yeah.
and not recognize me for him. And
Right.
and he has always been so supportive of
Supportive.
my journey, and also supportive of the fact that he wants me to be known for me and not to be known for him. So this has been, there have been times where it's been frustrating in the beginning, but now I feel that I've established my artistry in a way that now speaks for itself. And the people of, obviously, I'm very happy to also be associated with the man that I love, and that we are in the same business, and we love what we do, and we share this passion. So there are many, many beautiful things about it also. My mother once said, when we first met, that music is the glue. We
Hmm.
have a very strong
Strong.
love
Absolutely.
together, but the music and the love that we have for music, each of us individually, is part of the glue that keeps us together. And
Nice.
it's a beautiful thing to share.
Yeah, and thank you so much for sharing this story. It's really amazing, and it was I've known of you, and I've known you for years. I think because we've been my husband and I lived in Croatia since 2006, so we kind of are kind of knowing the whole story and how it developed. And it was so amazing to see you grow as an artist and really succeed on your own merit, you know, and in your own artistry, as you just said. And that brought you a wonderful, wonderful success with the Grammy nomination. Tell us about that with this beautiful album, Ona. Like, how did it all eloped, and how did you feel sitting there and being one of the Grammy nominees? I think that's for musicians one of the top. Like, that's the like the dream.
No, it was. I mean, I still don't really understand how it happened, you know, because this little independently funded, independently released album, it was so grassroots. It was all me. I mean, there's no team. I mean, Antonio is my team, you know, he's my biggest promoter and help and support and everything. But I mean, really, I released it myself. There was no label. There was no, you know, it was unbelievable how it happened. But I guess it was a combination of the story that felt very true to me, and a story that I think resonated with people all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it was also the time that it was released. You know, it's interesting. The album was supposed to be released in September of 2019.
I remember, yes.
And yeah, and then it got delayed. Well, it was supposed to be, and there was a long process of the album. We actually recorded it in January of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And I had raised all of the money to fund the making of the album through a website called Pledge Music. And I raised, you know, I think it was like $16,000 or $17,000 from fans who gave me, you know, $15, $20, $100. And part of this website was to promise things in return: T-shirts and CDs and lyric sheets. And, you know, it was one of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And the company stole the money.
Yeah.
So in the end, I ended up at the recording date. You know, I took a screenshot of my phone, of the calculator of all of the money that I had to pay on this day that came out of my savings. And so basically, not having the funding and having to spend money from my savings, it was difficult for an independent artist, because it wasn't just the recording of the album that was expensive. It was the promotion, it was the printing of CDs, it was, you know, all of these things. And so it took me a longer time to release it, just because I had to make the money and figure out how to finish it.
Right.
And I ended up getting a grant in 2019, which was very helpful and helped me finish and promote it and everything. But then, you know, there was this idea of releasing it in September 2019, and I had a great venue in New York where I was going to do the CD release party, and all of the guests were going to come. And then the venue canceled on me. They said they had a bigger artist who wanted to come the day that I was doing my release show, and they said, sorry, goodbye.
Wow.
And you know, I won't say which venue it was, but it was hard for me. So for me, it made no sense to release the album without a concert, without something that was going to help me launch it, an event.
Right. Yeah.
And so, and for artists in general, it's independent artists in general, it's not really recommended to release in the fourth quarter of the year. Usually, if it's after September, August or September, lots of big artists release between October and December. Mm-hmm. And so it's better if you wait until the beginning of the next year. So I decided to wait until March of 2020. And the idea was originally that I was going to release in the first week or so of March. But then my wonderful publicist, Lydia, suggested that I wait until the end of March, because it just fit better with the schedule of things that she had to promote.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, okay, we picked March 20th as a date.
Wow.
And then I think it was March 13th or March 16th, lockdown. I think it was the 13th. And in a strange way, I think that, if I had released the first week of the lockdown, I don't think it would have worked as well. But by the second week, people were craving
Eager.
content.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They were craving connection. They were craving something to listen to, something to connect with, something. And they also had time. This was still in the moment where everybody was like, oh, it's going to last a month. We're going to have a vacation.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to listen to all these albums that I didn't listen to. And I can catch up on my reading. I mean, so I think it was just an interesting moment where people were open and had the time and were willing to listen. And everybody just had this really powerful reaction to it. And I received so many messages from people that I knew, people that I didn't know. And it was a beautiful experience, just the release of the album and the connections that I made with people through the music, which were unexpected, absolutely unexpected. And then it was, of course, very disappointing that after this huge journey of recording and losing the money and finally releasing and doing all of the work myself, then now I couldn't go on tour. And I had planned my first tour. I booked everything myself. It was going to be beautiful. And then it all got canceled. So, I mean, I was very disappointed, but we still were so far in the beginning that we didn't know how long it would last. So, so it was, it was difficult. And then, of course, as we all know, it just kept getting further and further and further.
Longer, yeah.
And longer and longer. But, I did what I could, and I was doing master classes online, and I was doing online concerts. I mean, this was a good thing about having our home studio, is that Antonio and I developed this duo situation, which we had never played duo before. When we were touring with Antonio's band Migration, usually we would do the whole show, and then in the encore, Antonio and I would start alone, and we would start duo, and then the band would come. So this was kind of something that we had experimented, started. But then in January of 2020, we went to the NAMM show in Los Angeles. And Antonio, who is a Yamaha artist, they asked him if he would play drums on their drum set that they were trying to promote. And he said, of course, but, Thana will also be there, and she has all of her electronics, and it would be very cool. I think it would be more effective if we did something together than if I'm just playing drums by myself. And so they agreed, and we did our first duo set ever. We played for 30 minutes, and we had no idea what we were going to play. We just decided how we were going to start and how we were going to end. And that was it. And then we just played a completely improvised set for 30 minutes.
Awesome.
And I used my looping and electronics, and he did his magic on the drums. And we both came off the stage, and we were really surprised, this actually worked.
Wow.
We can communicate musically, very well. And so this kind of was our first little seed that got planted. And then when the pandemic happened, obviously we were together at home, and this was the music that we could make. So we did a lot of these duo concerts virtually. And and then the Grammy nomination happened. I just couldn't believe it.
Tell us about it. Tell us about the feeling. Like what? I saw that video, actually, when you got that nomination and you ran into the studio and then shared it with Antonio. It was great. It was so great.
It was unbelievable. And it was really a pandemic moment because it was caught on this live stream that he was doing for some
Yeah,
drum channel. I mean, I don't know. But what happened before the live stream was that, I had obviously submitted to the Grammys and had high hopes, just like everybody has high hopes. I knew the day that they were going to be announcing the nominations. But for some reason, I kept checking the website and I didn't realize that they were doing a live stream announcement. Usually on the Grammys, they just announce on the website the
right.
day of, but now they did this whole thing and they were announcing on a live stream, and you had to watch the live stream from the Grammy website. So I was, refreshing Twitter, and I don't understand, why are they not listing it yet? But in the meantime, I said, okay, well, I'm just going to keep working. And I was working on Pro Tools. I am producing an album of my trio Sonica, which I
Mhm.
lead with two other fantastic women. And we started working on an album during the pandemic, and I'm the engineer and the producer of this album. So I was doing production and Pro Tools, and I had my headphones, and then I was refreshing Twitter, and then all of a sudden, Nicole Zuraitis, who is one of the artists in my trio Sonica,
Mhm.
she is also my best friend, and she just sent me messages. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then she tried to call me two times, and I guess I didn't see the call, and that I finally picked up, and she said, and then I looked on the thing, and people had posted it, and I was just like, I couldn't believe it. So the first thing I did was I called my parents,
Mhm.
because I knew that Antonio was he had done this, it's called a drum takeover,
Uh-huh.
for the drum channel, some Instagram drum channel, and he was going to be spending the day showing people around his studio and his practice routine, and so I knew that he was downstairs and busy, and I called my parents, I called my best friends, it was very excited. But then of course I had to tell him. I
Right.
and I thought, should I wait? I mean, I can't wait, I'm shaking,
Such a
I
great
can't.
news. It's
so
such a
I
huge news. Yeah.
so I ran down the stairs, and he said that when he heard the noise from the stairs, he thought something had terrible had happened, because I mean, he knows that I wouldn't run down the stairs like that unless something was really wrong.
Right.
And he said that he was listening, and he was worried that something had happened. And I mean, I must have made so much noise just down the stairs, and I came to the studio and I opened the door. And then, I mean, I could have gotten a cymbal in the head. He looked at me like, what are you doing? But then I told him I got nominated for a Grammy. And then and he also couldn't believe it. And then we hugged. And then of course I said, I have to call my grandma, because that was the next big person to call. So no, it
That was
was
amazing. That was
it was
amazing.
beautiful. Yeah.
And just
And
going to the
unfortunately, yeah,
nominations and hanging out with those people, how did that feel for you?
no, there was none of that. I couldn't go to the Grammys.
Oh,
No, we
oh,
had we had the Grammys in our living room.
oh, that's how it was. I
Yeah.
thought that it still
Yeah.
happened live,
Oh, it still happened. But so this is something that
online.
most people don't realize, is that there are two Grammy shows that happen every year.
Hmm.
There is the telecast show, which is what everyone sees on television, and
Hmm.
they give out 8 Grammys in about 3 hours. This is, album of the year, record of the year, best pop song, blah 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 blah. But this is mostly
Hmm.
pop music.
Yeah.
And all of the jazz Grammys, the Latin Grammys, the rap Grammys, the classical, the spoken word, the film music, all
Right.
of those Grammys, which are over 100 Grammys, are given out in the afternoon in a pre-telecast show that doesn't get aired
Get
on
aired.
TV.
All right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they made the decision to only have the telecast show live with people coming to LA, and they did it all outside, fully masked, and da, da, da. But it was basically a very select few, of the stars that were able to attend, and anybody that was nominated in the pre-telecast show could not attend.
Okay.
So I couldn't go to the Grammys on my only Grammy nomination.
Well, so
However,
far, so far.
so far. However, this did not stop us.
Mhm.
And of course, when I got nominated for the Grammy, uh, I this the so much of the story of the album, of course the album is called Ona, so it's the title track of the album has lyrics in Croatian, it has lyrics in English. The basis of it comes from the experiences of women in my family, the matrilineal lineage of my family, and then it branches out to the experiences of women in contemporary society. So it's very rooted in my Croatian roots, in in the language and in the sound of the music that I love so much. So my initial idea was that I have to wear a Croatian designer to the Grammys. And so I contacted Envirum, which is their beautiful designer from Croatia, two designers. And I said, I'm Thana, and I got nominated for a Grammy, and I would love to wear something of yours, and how can we make this work? And they were so nice and so accommodating, and this was in the middle of lockdown. I mean, it was not lockdown yet, but there were, in every part of the world there were different restrictions, and there were different things happening. So originally the Grammys, I found out about the Grammy nomination in November of 2020, and the Grammys were supposed to be on January 31st of 2021. So I had contacted Envirum. This was already in December. And I said, is it possible to do this? And the Grammys are at the end of January. And they said, we're going to make you this dress. And, and I showed them what I liked, and da, da, da. And Antonio actually took my measurements. They sent me the instructions of how I should be measured. And Antonio did my measurements. And then I sent them the measurements. And then I got this, the original idea was that they would go for Christmas and the New Year's, they were closing the atelier, and that they would send me the dress the second week of January, something like that. And then I got an emergency call from one of the designers, sometime in December, saying they're closing all businesses in Zagreb again. It was Friday, and they said by Monday they're closing everything and we won't be able to go into the atelier. We have to make your dress this weekend. Ooh. And I said, you're going to make this dress in one weekend? I don't know how they did it. I don't know. They are the most masterful tailors, designers. I mean, it is unbelievable what they managed to do in 2 days.
Wow.
And they made me this beautiful dress. And then I had a friend go and pick it up, and then she sent it to me. And we actually, so this was also in the pandemic, and my grandmother, who was then 99 years old, living alone in Florida, and she had been confined to her apartment all year and hadn't seen anybody. She had neighbors in her building who were helping her get groceries and different things. But Antonio and I really didn't want her to be alone for Christmas. So we quarantined for 2 weeks, and we got tested in New York, and then we drove to Florida so that we wouldn't get on a plane.
Wow,
and we
drove all the way.
We drove from New York to Florida, down the whole country, so that we could spend Christmas with her and not put her in any danger.
Yeah.
And so we had the dress. And my grandmother, when she was living in Zagreb, when she was young, she was a haute couture designer working. I mean, she was a seamstress working for a haute couture designer, and she would make these very elegant ball gowns for the high society of Zagreb at the time. And so fashion is a big part of her life. And so I said, send the dress to Florida, and then she can see it in person.
Yeah.
And so it actually arrived on Christmas Eve.
Wow.
And we opened it together, and I put it on, and she was crying, and it was a whole beautiful experience. And then shortly after Christmas, I found out that they had postponed the Grammys until March, and that they were going to do it virtually. And so I messaged the designers and I apologized, and I said,
I didn't
I'm
know.
so
You didn't
sorry
know.
that you went to all this trouble and you did all of this for me. And really, I want to ask you, are you comfortable with me wearing this dress in my home, or do you want me to save it and wear it on a red carpet? I mean, I want to do right by you because you did so much for me.
Mm.
And they said, Tanice, haljina je tvoja, ti radiš što hoćeš, mi smo uz tebe. They were so amazing, so
Oh.
amazing. So basically we decided that we were going to have a Grammy party at home with our closest friends. So it was 3 couples. It was just 6 of us, and everybody quarantined, and this was before the vaccine also, so everybody
Right.
quarantined, everybody got tested, and this was the first indoor gathering that we had with our friends
Wow.
since
Since
the
this beginning
pandemic.
of the, yeah.
So
Wow.
we got together and we had a beautiful dinner, and I decorated the living room with Grammy paraphernalia and glitter and gold. And I mean, it was very cute. It was very cute. And then we all watched the live stream from the living room. And one very exciting thing about the Grammy, the pre-telecast show. So this is also me as an independent artist. I am my only manager, and I am my only advocate. So when I got nominated, I said, I know that there is a Grammy show and they have artists who perform, and maybe I can perform. I don't know. So I did some digging, and I found the email of somebody who does something with the Grammy show. And I emailed a bunch of people saying, hi, my name is Thana, and I'm nominated in the, Best Jazz Vocal Album category. And also, Regina Carter was nominated for Best Improvised Solo on one of my songs on the same album. And, I don't know if you're doing any kind of performance for this year virtually, but I would love to be involved. I said, the worst that can happen is that they say no, or that they don't respond, but I can send a bunch of emails. Okay.
Right.
So I sent a bunch of emails, and I ended up getting a response saying that, well, actually, we're doing a live stream, and we're having a number of the nominees contribute to the opening number of the Grammys this season. And it's a tribute to Marvin Gaye. And we're doing, this song, and would you like to do, this short part of it? And I said, yes. So I did the recording in our studio downstairs, and I was part of the opening number of the Grammy show last
That
year.
was
So that
beautiful. I
was
saw that. That was so special. So you
that was very
really,
exciting.
yeah, you really made it. I mean, it's just like a dream come true. But what do you think really helped you get there to that point? Was it your being persistent? Was it your just thinking openly? Like you just said, this was a great example. Like how you said, "Oh, I have nothing to lose. I'm going to write a couple of emails and just go for it and see what happens." Is it
Yeah.
that kind of just like going with the flow, going with your desires and just testing it out, like kind of improvising with it? What do you think? What do you feel really like
Yeah.
made all this happen?
I mean, I think it was just the seeds that I planted. Being an independent artist, you have to be. I mean, I am a one woman show, and until I have a team of 5 or 10 people who are helping me out, and I don't have this administrative mess that I have to deal with by myself, I do everything by myself. And so I you know I was always afraid of hearing no before. And now I realize that you can hear no and it's okay, but you might hear yes sometimes. And I just really I believed in this album, and I believed in the stories that I was telling, and I believed that it was something that I wanted to share,
And it was
and
worth
that and
listening
and
to.
that it was and that it was worth it. Yeah.
Mm.
And so I figured there's no, I mean, we were also all at home. Well, I mean, of course, the things that happened before the pandemic, this was also
Right.
just my hard work, and just doing anything that I thought, applying for every grant,
Mhm.
applying for every competition, just
Mhm.
putting little seeds. I mean, just today I found out that I'm a finalist in the international songwriting competition, which I applied for last year. I even forgot that I applied for it. So there are these little things that I just, if I see this opportunity, I'm
Mhm.
just going for it, because there's nothing else to lose. And the good thing is the momentum to feel like
Mhm.
they're, you know as an independent artist, you have many periods where it feels like there is no momentum.
Mm.
And this happens, I mean, the Grammy nomination helped in many ways, because it brought my name to a different category, and people, I mean, if nothing else, it made people interested to listen to why I might have been nominated.
Right.
Whether or not they like the music is a different story, but it at least it struck people's interest in
Yeah.
the music,
And that's
which is which
huge.
is a big which is huge, and so it doesn't mean that it's made it any easier for me to get gigs, unfortunately. I mean, I'm trying to book these tours now for Ona. I mean, now we're almost, we're 2 years after. I mean, now we're going to be 2 years in a few days,
Right.
2 years since the release of the album. And with the band, I've only played this music live 2 times.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. So we're trying to book all of these tours, and I have a wonderful booking agent now in the US named Michael Fox, who is helping me book, East Coast and West Coast and Midwest, and he's really advocating for me. And it feels good to finally have an advocate in a team member, that
Right.
I'm not the only one sending emails and saying, "Hi, my name is Thana. Can I have a
Yeah.
gig?"
That must feel good.
So it's very nice. We've become a good team, but it's very difficult to get gigs. And it was difficult to be an emerging artist before the pandemic, because of course this is the entertainment industry. It is a
Mm.
business,
Mm.
and business means people want to make money. And if they feel that they will not make money selling your show because you're an emerging artist who will not sell as many tickets as some of the bigger names,
Mhm.
they would rather book the bigger names.
Right.
So it was difficult before the pandemic, but now it's even more difficult, because
Well,
the venues are hurting, the promoters are hurting. Everybody had a hard time in the pandemic
yeah.
financially. So I feel very deeply for every independent and emerging artist in the world right now, who is trying very hard to get their music heard.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not easy for sure.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
hard for the artists, the established artists, to, make it.
yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
ask you, what is success for you? What is, how do you view success? What is it?
I think I think the idea of success probably changes at every stage of life. For me right now, success would be to be able to support my life financially completely from doing my music,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
and and having my music reach people on a larger scale. It doesn't mean fame. Fame is not the success that I'm looking for.
Mhm.
It's more just this connection with people, and the ability to to play my music, and not have to worry about how much money I'm going to lose just to play my music. That would be success, I think.
That's
Yeah. Yeah,
well
because I
said.
mean, I can go on as many solo tours, with my project as I want. But my main concern with solo tours is how much money am I losing, not how much money am I making. So
Right.
the opposite or the alternative would be the success.
Yeah. Well, I definitely wish you all the success because you truly deserve it. And time really flies with you. You know, we're slowly approaching the end of our conversation. But I wanted to ask you
Oh
so
my
many.
God,
I
I
know,
can't
right?
believe it.
I
I
know.
can't believe it.
I wanted to ask you so many more things. But tell me, besides music, what else and beautiful relationship that you have with Antonio and with your family and with your friend? What else sparks joy in your life?
Hmm. I mean, it's just this. Yeah, I think it's this feeling of like this wholesome feeling, feeling like you're at home in every situation. Just the everything being the true version of love and friendship and togetherness. These are all things that are really important to me.
Mhm.
I would pick my family over anything. I love spending time with my family more than most friends. I love I love my time in Croatia. I love my time on the coast. Um, just I think that, but also joy now after having gone through the 2 years of the pandemic, I realized that I get a lot of joy out of live performance.
Mhm.
Um, and the lack of live performance made me realize how important it actually is to me. And Antonio and I had many conversations throughout the pandemic about what was our relationship to music, and why, even though throughout the pandemic we were constantly doing music, whether it was composing or recording something or playing with each other, but what is it about this live performance
Mhm.
experience? Is it that people clap for you? Is it an ego thing? Is it, we were trying to really unpack what does this mean?
Mhm.
And we realized that it is just the exchange of human energy,
Mhm.
and this experience is not replaceable with any other experience in the world. The exchange of musical energy between bandmates
Mhm.
in reaction to the exchange of energy that you're having with a live audience.
Mhm.
And every live audience is different, and every venue is different, and every day is different. You feel different every day, but there's something about this live
Interchange.
experience. Yeah, this yeah, just this interchanging exchange of energy, and it's just unique to the live music experience.
Yeah.
And and there's also something about playing music live in front of an audience that's also very meditative, um, because in this world where we are always, we're too consumed with social media and with devices and never really being in the moment.
Yeah.
A live performance you have to be in the moment in order to be on a live performance. There's nothing else you can think about except the thing that you're doing.
Right.
And so we realized that basically the live performance existed as a therapy for us, and we had that therapy almost every day before the pandemic. And then when the pandemic hit, it was like we stopped going to therapy, and
Right.
then this internal anxiety and really um, tension started rising,
Mhm.
and it was an accumulation of this tension, and it still hasn't been let out. And so it's, I really miss that part of being a musician more than anything else, and I
Mhm.
realize how much joy I get from this meditative therapeutic exchange of energy.
Wow. So
Yeah.
beautifully said. I would actually love to be at one of your first concerts that you're going to do, just to be subjected to all your, like,
Yeah.
exchange of this beautiful energy that you carry. I'm
Yeah. Well, I'm very excited actually because in May of this year, I'm going to be bringing my new Ona project to Zagreb to play with the HTV Big Band.
awesome.
When I was in the middle of the pandemic, I was trying to figure out, okay, I can't go on tour with my band. So how can I tour this music
Hmm.
that I worked so hard to write and arrange and orchestrate and all of these things? But there's no way we can bring a band of 4 or 5 people on the road in the middle of the pandemic. It's just impossible. And this was still when the idea of travel was just, unthinkable.
Hmm.
And so I thought, what if I had this music arranged for big band and I'm the only person that has to travel? And so it's the music, it's the same story, but it's just told in a slightly different
Yeah.
way.
And maybe
And
in a like a
so,
richer, musically richer way.
mhm. So I started with actually my best friend Nicole. Her husband Dan Pugac is a fantastic Grammy-nominated arranger, and I asked him to just arrange the first song, Ona,
Hmm.
and see how it felt, see how it went. And we had multiple Zoom sessions where we were going over the orchestration and working on it together. And I said, wow, this is something. And so he has done 3 arrangements so far. And I have Mijo Hazama, a very wonderful Grammy nominated arranger, also arranging something. And then the most recent addition is the incredible, I mean, he is, I think, the best arranger in the world, Vince Mendoza. He's going to
Oh,
arrange one song
wow.
as well. So
Ah,
I'm really excited. And Zagreb is going to be the premiere of this music.
wow.
Mhm.
Wow, this is going to
Yeah.
be a huge
So
treat. Can you tell us the exact date?
it is May 18th in
May
Zagreb.
18th. It's my mom's birthday.
It's a sign, Anna.
Right, I gotta bring her.
Yes.
We're coming. We'll be there.
Oh,
Oh my
fantastic,
God, this is
fantastic.
great, Thana. I'm so excited. See, my
Me
wish
too.
materialized
Me
immediately.
too.
So I can't wait to see you and hear you. And I'm inviting all the people that are interested in what Thana does. I'm going to
Uh,
post all your info, your websites, and everything you do underneath our video. And it was so great to have you on our smoothie
oh,
talk.
it's
Thank
so
you
nice to
so
talk to you.
much. And I just
And
want
I
to,
and I and I realized we ended up doing the whole thing in English. we, we
yeah,
didn't
right.
switch to Croatian at all. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I
It's okay. And it was so interesting, for me, and I think it will be interesting for our viewers. And just for the end, I would like to ask you question, like, when you view your life, how how it all went about. Do you believe there's like a destiny, like certain things just have to happen or had to happen? And or are we the creators, or are we kind of helping create our
I
reality?
mean, I think it must be a combination because I don't like to believe that my life is written and I'm just following the rules. I like to believe that I am the creator of my destiny. But there are certain things that I think must have been gifted to me or planned in a way to teach me something. The fact that I met Antonio and that we have this beautiful connection and love that I think is very rare in this world. I feel very lucky that I have this kind of love in my life.
Mhm.
And then also some not so great things that happened to me. I lost my brother. He passed away when I was just 22 years old. He was 21. He was very young, and this had a huge impact on my life and on my writing and on my emotional intelligence. I think it just everything that you go through it opens a door to your emotional self, and you have to choose to walk through it and see what you learn through this experience or not. And so different things in my life, I definitely think that fortunately or unfortunately, maybe they were destined. But there are certain things that I have to make the decision to do in order to make the destiny happen. I like to believe that we're presented with options, and depending on the options that we choose, we write our own fate.
Wonderful. Once again, thank you so much, Thana, for being my guest on Smoothie Talk at our 21 TV. Please say a big hi from Joe and me to Antonio.
Give a
We
big
are,
hug to Joe.
thank you. We can't wait to see you and see you perform and hear Ona live with the big band. It's going to be fantastic. And I'm so looking forward to just giving you a big hug.
I know, and have a smoothie in person.
Yes. So
Thank
thank
you
you
so
so
much for the
much.
beautiful questions, and for spending the time. And I can't wait to see you in May.
Thank you.